This is for anybody who's felt disappointed around the holidays or any time of the year when your usual traditions and expectations are, well, unexpectedly interrupted, and you need to let go of them to find your way forward. So last Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, my husband tested positive for COVID. Now, he'd had a few days of the sniffles that just weren't getting better and they weren't getting worse, and they were just weird, according to him. And after a day of there's no way I have COVID, and knowing that we were having a house full the next day for Thanksgiving, including my 80-something parents, I finally convinced him to get tested. So we picked up a few rapid test kits at the pharmacy, and he went upstairs in the bathroom to prove me wrong, bless his heart. Except, you know where this was going, right? That didn't happen. Instead, he sent me a text from the upstairs bathroom where he was to the kitchen downstairs where I was that just said, well, an expletive. Well, I thought once I knew that his symptoms were super mild, thank you science and vaccines and boosters, there goes Thanksgiving. And it's a holiday, one of the few that I really look forward to. And after a few tough years for my family, and I'm sure yours, because it's been crazy, and frankly, all of us, I was excited for us to finally be able to gather around the table and enjoy the turkey that my mother has angsted over for weeks, and share a whole bunch of carbs that I bought at the grocery store, and talk over one another, and we'll pass the plates to those who didn't hear so well anymore. But alas, the COVID universe had other plans. And so I sent all the food to my parents, packed it all up, took it over to them, and shared a plate with my husband from the kitchen that night over FaceTime while he quarantined in the basement. Now, frankly, it was harder on me than on him because he was down there living his best life, asymptomatic for 10 days, watching 800 seasons of Game of Thrones that I won't watch because it's too gory for me, and playing the guitar and working out and setting up his camping equipment and receiving sympathy calls from family and friends and eating all the junk food that I leave for him on the top of the stairs, like Doritos and pie and cream-filled sandwich cookies, because he can eat whatever he wants without a care in the world. And I say it just couldn't happen to a nicer guy. He was generally hogging up all the weights and the Peloton and the workout equipment for 10 days. And sure, he lost his taste and smell for like 5 seconds, but mostly he was feeling like a champ. And yes, I'm so grateful for that. And while I was also sad that we didn't get to have a proper Thanksgiving, there was a bigger issue at play because I didn't enjoy the isolation quite the way he did. And because his whole presence in the whole house, and not just as the dude who lived in my basement, grounds me more than I realized, it was harder on me. The lack of routine and ritual of being together and of celebrating the holidays threw me a bit off my game. Now, we rely on our rituals and routine a lot, don't we? And yet, what happens when they're uprooted around the holidays or frankly any other time of the year? How do we let go so we can pivot and adjust and adapt, especially when we've been doing it in an unprecedented way like we all have over the past few years in the wake of a pandemic that just seems endless and offers no clear answers in terms of whether we'll ever be done with it or what it holds in store for us next. Kind of like life. Now, the key to pivoting, adjusting, and adapting when life throws you a curveball is to allow yourself the big epiphany that despite all the ritual and routine we build into our lives, at the end of the day, life is uncertain. And anything can happen at any time. So we need to be nimble. Now, Epiphany, for those of you who follow me, as you know, is the first step in my letting go process. Now, having the epiphany and the truth come to us doesn't mean that we can't have a feeling about it. Of course we will. I was sad to not be able to have Thanksgiving with my family and to not see my husband for 10 days while he was the dude living in my basement and while we implemented quite the system for avoiding one another so as to keep me healthy and safe. And I allowed myself to feel all of that while I was carrying on with life as usual, of course, getting work done and taking care of our home and myself, and even preparing to spend a long weekend away with friends that I had planned months earlier. For me, allowing myself to see the truth and to have my feelings about it, whatever they were, was not indulgent. And so I say this to you, go ahead and be sad that you're upstairs eating turkey alone if life throws you a curveball. Because it's the beginning of the big release, adapting, pivoting, adjusting, whether we're working our way through the holidays or the traditions or expectations at love or work or COVID or anything else, allowing ourselves that is a game changer. See, I had to quickly acquiesce that Dan had COVID and we both have to isolate at least for a while, and that Thanksgiving was canceled. And I was feeling kind of sad and kind of pissed about it too, since we'd taken all the precautions. But again, we can't always control what happens. We can allow ourselves the grace of our feelings about it, and we must. Once we have the epiphany and our feelings, it's time to figure out what we want and then create a plan for getting it. Dan wanted to get better and I wanted to stay healthy, and we both wanted the time to pass quickly and painlessly. And so we did what we had to do to make those things happen. Now, I didn't plan to spend that holiday weekend canceling all of our plans and watching Netflix on the sofa with the dog and dodging COVID in my own home. But alas, there it was. And in the truest spirit of Thanksgiving, I was bugged, but I was also super grateful that Dan was okay and that I was okay and that the pivot, well, it was okay. Look, COVID was definitely not on the holiday menu. And if I had a choice, I would never have put it there. But as the great philosophers of our day say, shit happens. And we have to roll with the punches and the changes and the great disruptors, especially if they're of the life-threatening kind. And that means using letting go as a tool in my system as a great way to do it.